One of the worst things that could happen to you in your life is to have a jealous friend, because they'll cause a lot of problems for you externally and also internally because of how they make you feel about yourself. And I know this because I've had a couple of bad experiences that have led me to choose a life of solitude, because I'd rather be alone than have bad company. And over time, I've learned to spot these bad apples, to sniff them before they even reach my doorstep. And I'm going to be sharing with you today what I've learned so that it could also help you in your life. This video is going to have 2 chapters. First, we're going to be looking at the signs and symptoms of a jealous friend. The second chapter is about the things that you can do to protect yourself, including a good friend checklist that you can use. The first sign of a jealous friend is that they demean you, and they're always trying to belittle any achievements that you have. And they do this because they always want to remind you that you're not good enough. They want to be planting the seeds of self-doubt in you. They want you to always feel like whatever it is that you do, it will never be enough, so that you can be like them who don't like their own life. And there are actually so many examples when it comes to this. When you graduate with your degree, all of a sudden they're like, oh my god, a degree, it's not that special. Everyone has a degree nowadays. You get a job and they're like, oh my god, but that job, it's not even that prestigious. Oh my god, but you're just an entry-level associate. That's really nothing. You move to a whole different country and they're like, oh my god, but moving to a whole different country, who does that nowadays? It's not that special. Literally everything you do, they're just going to try and show you how it's actually not a big deal when it's really a big deal. They're also always happy when you fail at something, and in fact, when you are succeeding, they do not want to tell anyone about your success. But when you're failing at something, they're the first ones to actually broadcast it to everyone. They'll even start a WhatsApp group so that they can just laugh at your own failures. When you are kind of failing at something or struggling at it, and it's something that is very visible to people, that is the kind of friend that all of a sudden is very close to you. And it's not because they care about you, it's because they want to have that front row seats to see you suffering. And even when you talk to them about the challenges that you might be having, they're going to gaslight you about how you are always overthinking things. They'll literally make you feel like the challenges that you're going through are made up, they're not real, because they do not want to validate you, they just want you to suffer. And so even if you're going through something that's really tough, they do not want you to know that you're going through something tough. They want to make it harder for you by making you thinking that you're actually the one that is the cause of your own problems, even when a lot of the times it's just the environment that you're in. It could be societal problems. You could be talking about how the patriarchy is affecting your life as a woman, and they're going to be telling you that, oh my god, patriarchy doesn't exist. They'll tell you that you're literally making up the fact that patriarchy is affecting your life. These are also the kinds of friends that are always asking about what you're up to, not because they care, but because they want to be keeping tabs of your life. They want to be tracking you. That's why a lot of times it can be harder to identify these kinds of jealous friends, because if someone is always asking you about your own life, it's very easy to think that they actually care about you. But you need to actually interrogate the things that these people are asking, because they're not asking you about you, they're asking you about your life. So instead of them asking, how are you doing, they'll be like, oh, did you get that job that you were applying for? Or what happened to this and this and this? Like, it might even take time before you see each other, before you meet, but the first thing that they're asking you is not really about how you're doing, asking about the status of things that you're doing in your life. And as much as they're always asking about your life, even if you find yourself in a difficult situation, they will ask about it, they know about it, and even if they're in a position to help in one way or another, they're not going to help you. They're just going to watch you suffer. This is also the kind of person who, when you ask them about their own life, about themselves, instead of them just talking about their own lives, they are going to compare themselves to you. So if you ask them how they're doing, all of a sudden they're like, my life is not as good as yours. You have a man who's paying everything for you. You don't even have to suffer. And their main goal is to actually make you feel guilty for your own life. And this can actually be someone who is living a much better life than you, but somehow they're going to find ways of pinpointing how the little things that are going great in your life are actually better than in their own lives. If you surround yourself with these kinds of people over time, you're going to belittle yourself and always gaslight yourself. Anytime you have a problem, you think you're overthinking it. anytime you're having anything good in your life, you're like, oh, but other people are having it bad, so you're not even celebrating yourself, and you end up not moving forward. And that's exactly what these jealous friends want. You can also identify them by the fact that they're always copying what you do. It's like they have no personality other than just doing whatever it is that you're doing. They are in a secret competition with you. Some of them will even go as far as stalking you. They almost worship you, they put you in a pedestal, but at the same time they hate that you're living that life that they want. So they think that if they copy everything about you, how you're dressing, how you talk, how you wear your hair, the friends that you have, they'll even steal your own friends. If you have a boyfriend, they're actually going to steal your partner, your boyfriend or girlfriend. The other thing that these kinds of people will do is that they will push you to make bad decisions, and if it's hard for them to manipulate you into doing that, what they're going to do is to create an environment that is unfavorable for you so that it can destroy your own relationships. They'll tell you that they are celebrating your birthday or they have a surprise for you, and then they tell you to go to a certain place, or some of these friends are going to accompany you to that certain place to ensure that you are not running away. And when you get there, you find that it's a place that you had said over and over you don't want to be in. They will push you into these places you do not want because they want you to make the bad decisions that they're also making. They're very jealous of the principles that you have for yourself, and they will do everything possible to ensure that you are betraying your own principles because they want you to be like them. Another example of this could be maybe you're in a relationship and you decide that you're not going to interact with any other kind of man except maybe just at work, because that is what you want for yourself. Even if you make it very clear to a lot of your jealous friends, they're not going to listen, and what they're going to do is they're going to actually go out of their way to ensure that you're finding yourself in places where you literally have to interact with men even when you do not want to. And so they'll even pretend that they're coming to visit you, and all of a sudden they're coming in with strange men that you've never seen in your entire life. And you really need to be careful about these kinds of people, because they will literally bring people they know will cause harm to you because they want to see you suffer. So they don't even care when they're introducing people they know who have already harmed others. They're just doing so because they want to harm you. The other thing that they do is that they also spread a lot of rumors about you because they want to destroy your relationships. And you always find that when you introduce someone to them, they always latch onto this other person that you've introduced to them because they want to destroy that relationship that you have. And you'll notice it's not just one or two people, because it's natural. You can introduce people and they become friends, but the jealous friends are always latching onto every single person that you know that they do not know. Every single one. One of the other ways that you can also identify a jealous friend, it's someone who is always very hateful towards people online. And these are people that will go out of their way to just hate on an influencer. You always hear about how they speak about this stranger online. Oh, I don't like her because of how she dresses. They're also the kinds of people that really get a kick out of seeing influencers and celebrities going through a rough patch. They're like, oh yes, this person deserves it. That is a very hateful person. And if they're hateful towards people they've never met, can you imagine what they're doing to you who they know? They literally almost have a front row seat to your own life. Do you think they're going to be happy for you when they have the capability to literally hate a stranger for no reason? And the last way in which you can identify a jealous friend is the fact that they are always using the things that you've told them against you, and then they're going to pretend that it was a mistake. Example is, if you have acne and you talk to them about the insecurities that you have about having acne, especially when you're an adult, it can be hard to live with acne. What this person is going to do is, one day you'll be having a conversation and maybe you will get into a little bit of an argument, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, no wonder your boyfriend dumped you because of that face full of acne. Even I wouldn't love anyone like that. And then later on they're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Oh, you meant to say every single word of that. And you literally have to know that the only way that you can remedy a relationship between you and that jealous friend is to literally cut them out of your life, because you cannot make them feel any better. These are people that are living with victim mentality. They think that everything that is going bad in their own lives is because of you. They see you taking advantage of opportunities that you have, and they're jealous of that. And instead of them acknowledging that, they are choosing to actually make your life miserable, because it's easier for them to pull you to the misery that they've created as their own life than for them to actually step up, get out of that victim mentality, and take charge of their own life as you do. This brings us to the things that you can do to protect yourself from these jealous friends. And one of them is you need to learn to be alone so that you just don't accept anyone because you're just afraid of being lonely. And this is something that is actually not very easy for a lot of people because we live in a society that is always telling us that being alone is bad. So it definitely means unlearning all the things that you've been told are bad about being alone, because once you're comfortable with yourself, I mean, at the end of the day, you spend the most amount of time in your life with yourself and you're the only one that knows yourself best. Being alone is how you get to know who you are. And once you actually know who you are, it means that it's easier to be in control of the people that you are allowing to be around you. You also need to learn how to vet people who are coming into your life. Create a checklist of the things that you value in your own life and then use that to determine who qualifies to be in your life. You know, the same way that if you wanted to get into a relationship today, you're actually seriously looking at, is this person good for me? Are they compatible with me? You should also do the same thing with your friendships. And I actually do have my own checklist, and some of the things that I require are: one, someone who loves themselves, who thinks of themselves in high regard. I do not want people that are always demeaning themselves, who call themselves stupid just because they did something wrong, who are always speaking negatively about themselves. They will say things like, oh, my natural hair is the worst thing ever. I don't want those kinds of people in my life. Number 2 on my checklist, someone who solves problems and not always complaining about the things they can control. That is the important part. It's one thing to talk about the challenges that you're having with something and how that is affecting your life. Yeah, we can talk about it. And then yes, create solutions for that. But coming back each and every day for the next 6 months, talking about that same thing and complaining about it, now, number 3 on my checklist is someone who is cognizant of how societal structures affect our lives. I cannot deal with people who are always like, oh my god, you're overthinking it. It's not that deep. The patriarchy doesn't exist. No, I can't deal with that kind of stupidity. Not in my life. I already deal with that in the broader world. I'm not inviting that in my own life, in my personal life. No. Number 4 on my checklist, someone who has curiosity and embraces themselves as a complex, multidimensional being. I really can't deal with people who have accepted societal definitions of who you are, maybe as a man or a woman. I just can't, because you really can't have any fruitful conversations with them. When you speak about a woman, you know, going after their dreams, all of a sudden like, but you know, being a good woman is about getting married and having children. Number 5 on my checklist, and this is more important as I've started putting myself out in the public. I do not want someone who worships me, you know, someone who puts you in such a high pedestal, because there's a certain dehumanization that comes with that. They're looking at you as someone that is, oh my god, you're so cool and all of that. I know I'm smart, I'm cool, I do amazing things, and it can actually be challenging to keep up with me in my day-to-day life, because yes, all the things that I have in my checklist, I embody them, and that's why it's something that I require of anyone that wants to be around me, because it can be difficult. I already live in a world that is constantly telling me that I'm too much, that I should lower my standards, because a lot of people accept mediocrity. So when it comes to my own personal life and the people around me, I'm not going to accept that. The other thing you need to learn to do for you to protect yourself from these jealous friends is to learn to call people out at the first sign of disrespect. You need to have very strict boundaries, and you should never have any negotiation when it comes to your boundaries. So you tell people, this is what I want. That's why having that checklist is important, because you know exactly what you're going to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate. And because people are always trying to test you, when they test you, you call it out and you'd be like, no, this is not something that I'm going to accept, you know? Just make it clear. This is how I operate, and if you don't like it, you leave. And you also need to get very comfortable with blocking people. And lastly, you also need to learn that friendships isn't really about the quantity but about quality. So you'd rather have a very small circle of people that are good for you than just having lots of people that are just a bunch of trash surrounding you, because after some time you're also going to be that trash. At the end of the day, friendship isn't determined by numbers but by depth. Ultimately, you really need to be as proactive when it comes to your friendships as you are about about looking for a job or even about finding a romantic partner. Friendships are also a very important aspect of our lives. If you have bad ones, then they are going to destroy you in every way, including psychologically, emotionally, and even financially. And that's why you need to create your own good friend checklist, because it's going to be your survival guide in ensuring that you're creating the best life for yourself, because you are very proactive about the people that you're allowing to be around you who are actually impacting your life.